Manchester United are very much going to go all out and sign a left back. Maybe in January, depending on the situation of Luke Shaw and Malacia, but definitely in the summer. That is the priority. Left back, left centre back, and Eriksen and Casemiro replacement, and another winger, depending on the form of Rashford and Antony. That's basically been confirmed as the 5 areas that United want to address next summer / in January. And one of these left backs they're looking at is an absolute wonderkid in Dorgu. We're going to get into the latest news on him, Anthony Robertson, Kirkes, the left back situation, Loco, and more at United. A bit of an update on Frankie de Jong to Manchester United and the nonsense that's come out about that in the summer. Was Frankie de Jong to United ever a possibility in the summer? Did Barcelona actually offer de Jong to us in the summer? Dan Ashworth drama going on at Newcastle with Paul Mitchell. I mean, Newcastle fans were saying good riddance, Dan Ashworth. We got an upgrade in Paul Mitchell, but now Paul Mitchell's blaming stuff on Dan Ashworth and all of this. And Dan Ashworth kind of, Newcastle had a bad window, United had a good window. It's an interesting bit of drama going on there. Although, to be fair to Paul Mitchell, he's been in the door for Newcastle 2 months. I don't think Newcastle can judge him off that summer, which was horrendous just yet, because I do think Paul Mitchell will be a good addition for Newcastle. And then just this interesting story on Leny Yoro that's come out from Real Madrid to try and make out that Leny Yoro rejected Real Madrid because he wanted Man United's money. And do you know what I'm going to say? It's the international break. These are the filler stories. The international break, and I say this is a content creator that covers every bit of content, but when I cover the news, I also give you my opinion on it in context and tell you where it's come from. The international break is often full of nonsense, scrape the barrel news, and you get outlets like The Sun and like The Mirror that will just make up some story about Ten Hag or a Man United player. I remember the international break last year, we had a story that Man United are annoyed that Mason Mount hadn't sold enough shirts. The international break is a period where you do get those filler stories, and I think Leny Yoro's story is an instance of that. But let's get into the news. Let's get into the story. So, Graham Bailey of HOTC Sports said that United are watching left back Patrick Dorgu. Now, he's one of the highest rated young left backs in football. We know that United are interested in signing a left back. He's been linked to Tottenham probably most heavily. Chelsea went for him, but I think he rejected Chelsea because I think he was kind of like, they keep signing loads of wonder kids. He's someone to watch in the Ineos project. Now, I don't think anything would happen until January at the earliest. So when there is transfer news, it is 3 months away at least, because sometimes people do bring players in into sort of December, ready for the January window. But it's definitely one to watch. Him, Anthony Robinson, Kirkes, Aït-Nouri and Loco are the 5 left backs that as of today that we know that United have on their radar for potentially January, if not the summer, depending on the availability and the situation with our left backs. But he's a very good one, but I know Tottenham really like him as well, but they do have a doggy. So, obviously you need sort of 2 left backs in the Premier League, but I don't think they're super desperate, although we do have Luke Shaw, but Luke Shaw can't stay fit. Now, 19-year-old Dorgu came off the bench for Denmark and scored in 45 seconds in his debut. Now, this is what other people said about him. There's no bigger prospect in football at left back than him. Defensive monster, dribbler, scores goal, technical and physical beast. Apparently, he's press resistant and has brilliant close control. Physically a good carrier, able to progress the ball with speed and power down the line and cut inside. Aggressive but very good in 1v1 scenarios and very good, very dynamic and good in 1v1. So I've only seen highlights of him. I'm going off what other people have said, but apparently in terms of a modern fullback technical ability, he's absolutely brilliant. We talk about Harry Amos being really technically good, so maybe he's a Harry Amos sort of further along in his development, but apparently very good 1v1, got rapid speed, can carry the ball, is very good defensively as well. So he's someone that's good going forward, but seems solid defensively, and his technical ability is good. I think you look at Mazraoui and how he's technically good, and Delo and how he's technically good, and Shaw and how he's technically good, and how Ten Hag likes that. I think this could definitely be a profile of player that United like, and I think it's definitely one to watch. But again, I would say anything happening in January is a little bit far away. Going back to this summer, I think I might have covered this in a live stream, I'm not sure, so I thought I'd include it in the video. But Romana said there was absolutely nothing between Manchester United and de Jong this summer, and I said that in the summer. I didn't really give the de Jong stories much attention, but if you weren't aware, Frankie de Jong was, surprise, surprise, what was I going to say? Like a brain fart there. But yeah, Frankie de Jong was just linked to United in the summer. Ten Hag, ex-Ajax, all of that. He's on massive wages at Barcelona. Barcelona do want to get him off the wage bill, but he doesn't want to leave Barcelona because he's on massive wages. And while Ten Hag dreams of him, he's not going to cut his wages and he doesn't want to come to United. And it was just, Frankie de Jong and United was never going to happen. It was always Agate. We always focused on Agate. Even when there was reports and news coming out that United walked away from Agate, from David Ornstein, Romana made that very clear that United never actually walked away from Agate. It was just more of a negotiation tactic, Operation Get Agate. Agate's the only midfielder Man United are really truly interested in getting. If they didn't feel they'd get him, they did have Sander Berge and Ambat as alternatives, but de Jong was never on the list. But let's get into this Dan Ashworth drama. And while I'm making this video, McTominay scored for Scotland and Bruno's scored again for Portugal. So, Bruno Fernandes, he's so good for Portugal. And a lot of people talk about how good United players are on international duty, then they go to United and it's iffy. And I don't want to blame Ten Hag, but I do think that Ten Hag's system isn't utilising how good some of our players are. But I also know that some of our players just don't turn up for United, and obviously on international duty, they do play at worse sides. But let's get into this story. It's more Newcastle related with the international break, so we literally cover any story that's to do with United. And I will say this, from a Newcastle perspective, it could be someone writing a filler story because it's the international break and they need something to write about. But they said that Paul Mitchell's long-term future at Newcastle United's in doubt after 2 months of being a sporting director. Now that's come out from The Sun. The Sun is full of rubbish, so I wasn't interested in sort of what come out from The Sun, but I was interested in what came out from Luke Edwards of The Telegraph, because I feel like The Sun could just put out some nonsense because it's a filler story for the international break. Now, Luke Edwards of The Telegraph said this: Dan Ashworth, Amanda Stabley, Mered Godozi and Chief Scout Steve Nicholson have all been left hurt and bemused by Paul Mitchell's claim that the club transfer structure was not fit for purpose. So Paul Mitchell had claimed that the previous transfer structure at Newcastle was not fit for purpose. I mean, they got Isak, they got Gordon. I think Harvey Barnes was a very good signing. I think Livramento and Lewis Hall were proved to be very good signings, but the long term, I actually think that all the signings Newcastle have done, I think, considering where they were at to begin with, they were a relegation team, so they could only get a certain level of players when the takeover came over, was very good. So it is a bit weird that Paul Mitchell was, critical of that. Maybe they've overspent a little bit here and there, but Paul Mitchell put 50 million bid on Elanga and 70 million bid on Gay. So I'm not sure why Paul Mitchell was trying to criticise Ashworth and stuff when United have got Ashworth and had their best ever transfer window and Newcastle had their worst. Newcastle could have got Madueke early in the window, but then Chelsea decided they weren't selling him. I think Gay, if he gets to 70 million, you've got to walk away and go for Malik Chow. It's not like the right centre-back market was bad. There was loads of good options in the right centre-back market. Even Chalobah could have been an option for Newcastle. Trevor Chalobah, you could have got potentially on loan, just to back up Shah. It was a bit interesting, Newcastle's approach in the summer. And I have to say, I thought Newcastle were going to have a good summer. I thought, they sold Minter, they sold Anderson, which they had to do for FFP. But I thought they were going to have a good summer and they didn't. So it was interesting. But it was said that sources who were previously connected to the club have expressed their belief that Mitchell's criticism of the club's previous transfer structure was an attempt to blame others for his own failure to sign a marquee player this summer, and that, Newcastle are sort of trying to put the blame for their poor window on Dan Ashworth, which I think, considering that, Dan Ashworth's come to United and we've had such a good summer and Newcastle haven't had the best summer. I know that the FFP pitch situation doesn't help them. I do think that, it's probably just a little bit of salt on there and that they lost Dan Ashworth. I think it just highlights to us what a good addition Dan Ashworth is as well. Like, I like Paul Mitchell. I wanted Paul Mitchell and Dan Ashworth, but I always said if I had to pick between the two, it'd be Dan Ashworth because the culture at United needs to change and Dan Ashworth can bring people in to do the recruitment, whereas Dan Ashworth is specialist in changing culture, and that's always been the biggest issue at United, the culture environment, and that makes sense why Ineos brought him in. Now let's go into our last story, this Yoro nonsense from Madrid. So it was coming out from Madrid sources that Leny Yoro leaned towards Manchester United money over Real Madrid's offer. Now, to put this into context, Real Madrid have just got, Militao injured. All their fans are annoyed they don't have another centre-back because Militao's injured, all of that. And then all of a sudden, they're now putting out a story that Leny Yoro went to United because we offered him 9.5 million euros and Real Madrid offered him 2 million euros. And it's an absolute nonsense story because Real Madrid were faffing about and he went to United because United showed more ambition to get him. That's why Leny Yoro picked us, because we showed way more ambition to actually sign him. And he thought, well, this team really wants me. Real Madrid only want me on the cheap. La-di-la. And, he was sold by the Ineos project and Rio Ferdinand and all of that. And Robbo, debunked this story perfectly because people are retweeting this and quote tweeting this, trying to make Leny Yoro look bad because people are trying to get over on United because everyone hates United. But this is what I call international break nonsense. I need a story to write. I need to make something up because it's the international break and I need some money, but I'm not going to get any clicks unless I make something up. This is what I think has come out by Real Madrid sources, and Robbo puts them in their place. Just for context for this nonsense, according to Capology, that would make Yoro the second lowest earner at Madrid behind Lunin on less than half of Garcia. So second lowest earner, and he's not even on 9.5 million euros at United. He's on 7 million euros, so it would put him just behind Brahim Diaz as the fifth lowest earner at Real Madrid. So we know it's not to do with money. I mean, Robbo's put this guy in his place. It's absolutely not to do with money at all. But anyway, people, please hit the like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video. And yeah, I will be back tomorrow morning with a video. And I'll be back with a live stream maybe about 5, 6 o'clock tomorrow. And then I will be on the United View at 7. So thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.